When you're hunting for a new water heater, the cheap, off-brand units that promise a 10-gallon tank for half the price can feel like a safe bet until the first cold shower hits. I've seen too many friends swear by a bargain model, only to be left with lukewarm water, a noisy tank, or a repair bill that dwarfs the original savings. That's why I paused before hitting Add to Cart on the Rheem PROE47 47-gallon electric water heater, and I dug a little deeper. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The hesitation starts with the basics. You're looking at a 47-gallon electric tank that sits on the wall, feeds a household of 4 or 5, and promises consistent hot water without the fuss of a gas line. The real question is whether the extra upfront cost actually translates into fewer headaches later. In the case of this Rheem model, the answer hinges on a few practical trade-offs that most spec sheets gloss over. First, let's talk about the installation reality. The unit's electric junction box is positioned above the heating elements, which the manufacturer says makes wiring a bit cleaner. In my experience, that layout does simplify the connection for a licensed electrician, especially compared to older designs where the box is tucked behind the tank and requires you to pull wires through tight spaces. However, the downside is the overall height of the heater. The 47-gallon size already pushes the ceiling height limits in many basements, and adding the junction box on top can make clearance a tight squeeze. If your utility room has a low ceiling or limited headroom, you might need to rethink the placement or consider a smaller model. What really sets this Rheem apart is its isolated tank design. By reducing conductive heat loss, the tank holds its temperature longer, which can shave a few dollars off your electric bill each month. In a typical 4-person home, you might notice a modest dip in the meter after a few weeks of steady use. The self-cleaning device, a high-velocity spiral that agitates sediment, also helps maintain that efficiency over time. In areas with hard water, that feature can be a lifesaver because it slows the buildup that forces many owners to replace the anode rod more often. For households that already use a water softener, the benefit is less dramatic, but the peace of mind that the tank is actively fighting scale is still worthwhile. The diagnostic LEDs are another practical perk. When you open the front panel, a set of glowing indicators tells you whether the heating elements are functioning or if there's a fault. Think of it as a simple check engine light for your water heater. If an element fails, you can see it right away without having to call a technician to run a full diagnostic. That said, the LEDs don't replace a professional's judgment, they just give you a heads up. If you're not comfortable opening the tank yourself, the benefit is limited to the technician's convenience, not yours. Now, the thermostat and overtemperature protector work together to keep the water at a set temperature while preventing overheating. In real-world use, that means you can set the heater to 130 F and trust it won't climb into scalding territory, even if a homeowner forgets to turn off a faucet. The automatic thermostat does a solid job of holding the temperature steady, but the downside is the lack of a digital readout. You have to rely on the dial, which can be a bit imprecise if you're trying to fine-tune the exact degree. For most families, that level of granularity isn't a deal breaker, but if you're a hot water enthusiast who likes precise control, you might find it frustrating. One of the biggest red flags I encountered while researching this unit was the rating, a 2-star average from only 7 reviewers. While that's a small sample size, it does raise a flag that something isn't clicking for a portion of owners. The reviews don't go into detail, no specific complaints about leaking, noise, or failure, so it's hard to pinpoint the exact issue. Still, the low score suggests you should be prepared for the possibility of a less than smooth experience, whether that's a longer installation timeline, a need for professional adjustments, or early maintenance. Who should consider the Rheem PROE47 If you have a medium-sized household, say 3 adults and a couple of kids, and you already run an electric service that can handle a 4,500-watt draw, this heater offers a decent balance of capacity and efficiency. The isolated tank and self-cleaning system make it especially appealing if you live in an area with hard water but don't want the hassle of swapping out an anode rod every year. It's also a solid pick if you value the diagnostic LEDs for quick troubleshooting and want a model that sits on the wall to free up floor space. Who should skip it? If your home's electrical panel is already near capacity, adding a 4,500-watt load could trip breakers or require an upgrade cost that quickly erode any savings from the heater itself. Likewise, if you have a low ceiling or limited wall,